everybody, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing. This week is an interesting one. This week I was all lined up. I went to the movies, I saw a brand new Top Gun, I even rewatched the original, and I was all set to record with great friend of the show, Rob from Stew World Order podcast about it, and unfortunately, I got sick. Me and the whole family got sick. So we had to postpone the record, so that'll be coming out as a bonus episode next week. But I tell you what, it's been 5 years and I haven't missed a release date yet, and I wasn't going to let this stop me. So please, for your enjoyment, here is an episode that was originally recorded as a Patreon bonus, but I'm putting the whole thing up here this week as a regular episode, so I hope you enjoy hearing me talk about City Slickers. The following podcast contains spoilers and rude words. We watch a thing. We watch a thing. Hello, dear patrons, and welcome back to another exclusive episode of We Watched a Thing. It's your boy, B Dizzle, and I'm joined by my lovely wife, Noosk. How you doing, Noosk?
I'm good, yeah.
This is another episode just for you, patrons, for no reason other than the other night we threw this movie on, which is one of my faves, and we're like, you know what? Why not? Let's talk about this.
Yeah. I think I was in a really bad down mood.
Well, and also, we just bought a camper trailer, which is kind of fun. So you wanted to watch something kind of campy.
Well, that has two meanings.
Well, okay.
Outdoorsy?
Something outdoorsy. Very excited to get our camper trailer and hit the road.
Yeah, I've just had this insane obsession and craving to go camping again. I used to go camping as a kid, loved it. You've never been camping. And I was in this terrible mood, and you were like, what do you want? Do you want Friends? Do you want this? Do you want a movie that makes you cry? And I was like, I want to watch City Slickers. What?
Which is...
And I did not regret it.
Yeah, so this film is on my 100 favourite films of all time list.
Is it?
Yeah, I love this film. And had you seen this before I made you watch it a couple of years ago?
Nope.
Okay.
A couple of years it was like 10 years ago.
Wow. Okay, yeah, we're old.
You are.
So City Slickers is a 1991 American Western comedy film directed by Ron Underwood and starring Billy Crystal, Daniel Stern, Bruno Kirby, and Jack Palance. It's written by Lowell Gans and Babalu Mandel. And what is it about,
I'm sorry.
Noosk?
Hang on.
Yeah,
what?
Babalu. His name's Babalu. I'm not kidding you there.
Okay.
And what is it about, Noosk?
Oh, shit. It's a man... Well, I think he's basically having a bit of a midlife crisis. He's sort of just plateauing in life and becoming a little numb and cynical to everything. And so his wife sends him on... Is it his 40th birthday he's celebrating?
39th.
Oh, 39th. His wife sends him out with his buddies who he's done wild and daring trips with before, all because of one particular friend. Yeah, sends him out to a dude ranch to, go be a cowboy. Sorry. Ranch handler.
Ranch handler.
So this film was what prompted me to be like, oh my God, we are going to a dude ranch.
You're right.
It's going to change my life, like Billy Crystal's.
That must have been a while ago now, because that was 6 years ago that we went to No, longer. That was 8 years ago this year that you and I went to a dude ranch on our honeymoon. And you're right, part of that was inspired by you seeing this film.
Oh, fully. Absolutely it was. Yeah. I don't know. This film, it's bizarre what a weird mix this film is. It is both sort of... I wouldn't go so far as to say slapstick, but
I would say parts of it are slapstick for sure. Yeah, definitely.
And it's just like the opening as well, the opening titles, like with sort of cowboy animation.
Yep.
Like you watch that and you're like, oh, here we go. We're in for this stupid comedy bro film.
And herein lies the problem with this film. I think there's several problems.
Problems.
No. So not problems with the film itself, problems with why the film is seen the way it is. Like Topher, for example, claims he hates this film. I am convinced he has only seen City Slickers 2. So City Slickers 2 very much leads into the slapstick. Like, that is a slapstick film.
Yeah.
This film, although it has those elements, this is a deep film. Especially
it has some really deep moments.
I always loved this movie as a kid, but rewatching this as I've grown up as a man, this movie says such things about how we see ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. Like, I am Billy Crystal. I am a very neurotic guy who often feels down on himself, often feels like I'm not achieving anything. And like, that's what this film is about. It's about stuff. It's about friendship and the camaraderie with people that we meet. And it says so many things that I think people forget. The other problem is that people associate it with the film that Jack Palance won an Oscar for that he shouldn't have. And so So Jack Palance won an Oscar for this film, the old grizzled cowboy.
Oh, really?
And it's one of those things where
he's barely in it.
It's one of those things where it's like a lifetime achievement award.
Yes.
Like he should have won an award earlier, but he didn't, so he won it for this. And so people
Leonardo DiCaprio winning for Revenant. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, well, this film was bad because people know he shouldn't have won the Oscar for it. So people inherently just go, it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
And those are two separate things. Like, should he have won an Oscar for this film? No. Does that mean this is a bad film? Absolutely not. This is a great film, I think.
Yeah. Okay, right. Yeah, I know it doesn't have like a sort of stellar reputation, but this film has a really special place in my heart.
Yeah.
It's like it's like the Stand By Me or Sandlot kids of middle-aged men.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I can see that. That is a great comparison. It is. It's like the Stand By Me. It's about a group of men rather than a group of boys, and it's all about, instead of that becoming a man, which is what kind of Stand By Me and the Sandlot kids are about, it's kind of about the opposite of that. It's about like, yeah, oh my God, that's a great comparison.
Oh. Look at me contributing to the podcast.
I mean, let's start with the lead, Billy Crystal.
Yeah, he's so good in this film.
I mean, who doesn't love
Why is Mike Wazowski riding a horse?
That's interesting. Is that where you go with Billy Crystal? You go to Mike Wazowski?
Yeah, actually, yes. Where do you go? Harry Met Sally?
Well, I go to this and then Harry Met Sally
and
then Mike Wazowski last.
Oh, I love when Harry Met Sally.
But it's the same, like even Tim Allen. I don't go to Buzz Lightyear. I go to Toolman Taylor. But I don't know. It's funny. Like, I don't think of voice work as any lesser, but I often, because they are embodying such a character, I don't often associate the voice artist with that character. Like, I think of Buzz Lightyear as Buzz Lightyear, not as Tim Allen, if that makes sense. Whereas a film like this, it's hard to separate. Like, and I think that is part of why I love this character so much, is I see him as Billy Crystal, who's a person who already has such great charisma.
Yeah, yep. But I mean, there are some little problems here and there with this film. Like the only females that exist in the film are just props to the men's problems and lives and stuff, and here's the thing, and even there's only one woman at the ranch. Okay, really,
I've gotten in trouble for saying stuff like this before.
We all know by the end of it she's going to end up with what's his face. His marriage is ruined.
I've gotten in trouble for this before when I did the Ballad of Buster Scruggs on the show with Topher and Beth. I got in very large trouble from those two. Because they were very upset that there's only one female in the movie. Yeah. And I was saying, well, but that's what the movie is. Like, I'm all...
A penis fest?
Well, but if the movie is a story about men, I think that's okay. I'm not going to look at a movie like Hustlers and say, why aren't there more men in the film? I'm not going to look at a movie like... If Beale Street Could Talk and say, why aren't there more white people in the film? If the story is about a certain culture and a certain gender and whatever, I think that's fine. I think this is the same thing. This is about a group of men. It's about three men. And it's not... What's great about this film is that there is toxic masculinity in the film, and that's highlighted and addressed as being a bad thing.
Yeah.
This isn't a movie about a bunch of gross crap guys, but it is a story about a bunch of guys. And look... I don't necessarily think it's a problem that there's not more women in the film. Do I wish there were more? Sure, that'd be great. But that's what this film is, and I think that's okay.
Yeah. It's obvious to me that it was written by a man because I don't think any woman would go alone to a dude ranch knowing she's going to be trekking for days on end out in the middle of nowhere with a bunch of men. Like,
see, that's an interesting point. I hadn't even thought of that.
No, you wouldn't. I hadn't because thought you're about a white
why
male.
Was this woman here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just things like that it just like watching it as a woman.
So let me ask you this then. Would you prefer then that there was no woman in this film because that might be more realistic even though it's less representative?
It's not more realistic because we're half the population. No. His wife is so understanding, but can also come across, I suppose, depending on the kind of person you were, as like a bit of a nag. Like she's like, oh, I'm unhappy, go away with your friends type thing.
Yeah, right.
You know, the female that is there, she exists only to be sexually harassed, and then as like the end game for, you know, guy from Home Alone's like his marriage has fallen apart.
A name. His name's Daniel Stern.
Well, he's the guy from Home Alone. He's one of the robbers. He's one of the wet bandits. Yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, it's just not a super well-rounded film, but this is me starting to pull it apart and pick at it because I actually really love it. Okay, and I really enjoy watching it.
Let's talk about what you do like about the film. What do you like about this film?
Well, I think we touched on it, those sort of deep moments that it has that are sort of surprising because you're sitting here thinking you're just going to watch some silly slapstick
That's the thing.
cowboy commentary,
there are slapstick moments.
You know, not comedy.
I think people forget that there is a full 10 minutes in this film where the three main characters are just riding horses and talking. This isn't an action film by any stretch. They're very slowly riding horses and talking about what their best and worst days are. I think people forget that is an entire large scene. Like, there are chunks of this film where it is just dialogue.
Yep.
Like, and it is beautifully written, very poignant dialogue, like, that makes you laugh, but it's...
makes me laugh so much. There's lots of funny moments. But none makes me laugh more, like laugh out loud, is when you think he's okay. So Billy Crystal is talking to the wet bandit about, you know, like, do you want me to go over it with you again? It's a problem that happens to all of us. Like, and you think they're talking about,
serious, like a sex issue, or
sexual dysfunction or something.
So you can record on the DVR while you're watching something else.
Yeah, and then you just have their other friend, shut up, which just reminds me of Chandler Bing and
4 hours. He's not going to get it.
He's never going to get it. Yeah. I was like, is that what it's like talking to me about our house? You have to speak up to Alexa. You have to be clear. You have to give it specific instructions. I'm never going to get it.
But honestly, that scene where they're talking about their best and worst day, and all three of them are poignant and hilarious at the same time. Like, Daniel Stern talks about his wedding day being his best day, and he talks about how much of a man he felt like his dad was proud of him. He saw him and then they're like, what was your worst day? Every day since has been a tie. Like, that's
funny.
It's hilarious,
so sad.
but it's all exactly. It's also sad, and it tells you a lot about his character.
Yes.
And Bruno Kirby's story about the day that he stood up to his dad, and he's like, "That's both my best and worst day." Like, I think people forget
makes
that this
a lot of sense about his character.
This film has a lot of moments like that in it, where it's really heartfelt and touching, and it's about masculinity, really. This film is about who we are as men and the way we think and why we think that way. And honestly, a lot of what's wrong with that. Like,
nothing. It's
no, but things that are wrong with that, the things that are like, yeah, that is kind of toxic and we shouldn't think that way. I think there's plenty of that in this film too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just really lovely. And of course, you know, that grizzled cowboy who apparently won an Oscar.
Yeah.
He exists only for the fact that he is sort of like this.
He kind of awakens Billy Crystal a little.
Yeah, and he's this overbearing sort of figure, like, you know, that pulls out of him some real moments. And then when he's gone and they're left with like the crazy two who had sexually harassed that woman at the start. And I like that scene where all the guests of the trek are in the tent and they're all fearful. I guess they're all the city slickers. Yeah. But that behavior is like frightening to all of them, not just the woman. And that I really like that moment.
Yeah.
And how they like try to take it on and way off topic here, but Billy Crystal, the way he tries to sort of like self-deprecating like comedy the way he tries to like circumvent the situation really reminds me of Joe Gatto in Impractical Jokers. Oh, he's actually just left Impractical Jokers. Way off track, but you know, like everyone knows that person. You're that person.
I was going to say, it reminds me, I think that's very real. I'm that person. Like, I don't think of myself as a masculine person at all. And if I was in a situation like that, that's exactly what I would do, because I think of myself as a funny person. I would try to diffuse the situation that way.
Yeah, by just attacking yourself so that no one else kind of can.
I mean, I always attack myself for that very reason.
Yes, well, you know, maybe you need to like actually talk to someone about that, Billy, but that's a conversation for another time. Yeah, I just really love this film. And of course, like the biggest, you know, hypocrisy of all of it is that he saves Norman the cow from being hamburgers. And he's like, they're also like put off by that they got the cows there in the end and they're just going to be used for meat, and that's so confronting to them. And it just, no matter how much they sort of came out as cowboys on the trip, they're still city people.
That is an
and they don't want to see how it's made.
That is an interesting turn that the film takes at that final point, because it almost could end at that point, really.
Well,
but then
I feel like any other film that wasn't taking care would end there. It's a happy ending.
It really takes that extra 10 minutes. And you're right. You could almost look at that as a bit of a... Like, you could look at that as making a statement about veganism or vegetarianism. But I don't think that's the point of the film. I think you're right. I think it's to show us who these people are and that they are still city slickers. Like, they're not vegans or vegetarians, but they still have this hard time. And it's almost like everything they've done and everything they've achieved up to this point, is it really just going to be ground up?
Yes.
Like, is that really the point of it?
We might as well have left them in the mountains.
Yeah, like they're just going to be killed. Like, is that really what we did this for?
Yeah.
I just think it's a beautiful, touching moment. They still don't
quite have the stomach for the job. And that's, I don't know, I like that extra touch on the end. There's no way he would have taken that fucking cow on the plane. Or that his wife would be like, oh, sure, just put the cow in the car.
That's what I was going to say.
I would. I'd be like, yay, a cow.
Bullshit. If I came home with a cow, you'd be pretty pissed off.
I'd be thrilled.
You'd be like, what the fuck is this cow doing here?
I'd be thrilled.
No. And I'd tell you the whole story and you'd be like, that's gay.
No, I wouldn't say that because people don't use that term anymore, Billy. Christ.
I don't think we can talk about this film without talking about the score as well, which I think is brilliant.
How good is the score? I was humming it all the next day.
It's so reminiscent of those Western classics, you know, like The Magnificent Seven and Dirty Harry and all of those classics. But it's really its own adventurous thing. It's almost like this beautiful blend between something like that and something like Indiana Jones, where it gets you moving and it makes you want to do something.
Don't you reckon there's also like shades of almost nostalgia Home Alone in there as well?
I can see that for sure.
Like the strings and I really like it. And like listening to it always takes me back to the first time I saw this film.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, trust me, it's a good film. And I was like, sure, I've heard that before. Tommy Boy.
Fuck off. Don't do a topher on me and bring Tommy Boy up. Tommy Boy is great.
It's so bad. Anyway, I remember the first time I saw this film. So I think we were in the midst of planning our wedding. So therefore I was possibly needing to be committed to an asylum.
It would have been around that time, yeah.
Yep. And I worked in the public service.
Yeah. So you were hating your work life.
Yeah. Just sitting at a desk, pushing papers for arsehole governments. None of it mattered. I was just yelled at all day by the media. And oh my God, it was a really sort of like flat line in my life. And I watched this film and I was like, yep, we're doing it. We're going to a dude ranch. Of course, the dude ranch wasn't life-changing.
Oh, it was pretty great, though.
Oh, it was great for you. Oh, Billy, you look like you were born on a horse.
Yeah, everybody loved me. I was like a real cowboy.
Great lassoing, Billy.
Until like the end of the third day where I was like, I could not walk properly. And I remember
18 hours on a horse.
Yeah, we'd been on a horse for a very long time.
To the male nether regions.
Yeah. We were herding cattle through was it the Grand Tetons? Was it the Tetons?
I don't think we went as far as the Tetons, but yeah, it was like we could see them from our cabin.
And our herder, our wrangler, our Jack Palance, if you will. I remember him being like, well, shall we pick up the pace a bit? And
No, because we were in the third group by that point. They'd sent the experienced riders back, and then there was an intermediate group that had been sent back at a slightly faster pace, and we were the stragglers.
And he was like, shall we pick up the pace a bit? We could be home by dark. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
No, please, no.
Yeah,
no.
you just, no, you weren't even please no. You just went, no. No, it's not negotiable.
I didn't at first, but I remember, I think it was on the second or third day that I paid extra for the gel-filled saddle because
you did.
I was in a lot of pain.
I mean, everyone was, but yeah.
Riding a horse, honestly, quietly, not that fun.
No, you think it's going to be this like soothing adventure.
I mean, it was beautiful. Like the landscape was beautiful. Herding cows was a lot of fun. I remember yelling a lot of yeehaw, shit like that. But boy, did
do you remember when we got them lost as well? We got them lost on like the side of a mountain at one point, and we were having to round them up, and like we had no fucking clue what we were doing. Thank God none of our handlers died because those cows and people were fucked.
If I was Billy Crystal, I'd be dead.
You'd be dead. We'd all be dead.
Absolutely dead.
And I remember, like, this is just an interesting fact that, I don't know, maybe any listeners in the Midwest know already, but I remember saying the word cowboy to one of the guys, and he was like, oh, we're not cowboys, we're ranch handlers. That's an offensive term. And I was like, oh my God.
Cowboys are lamos.
Yeah. They were like
geeks.
Yeah, they're the like socially awkward people who go up into the mountains months at a time because they can't fit into society. I was like,
oh, that's me.
I was like, no wonder Billy looks like
me,
he was
but without
born on
the
a horse.
cows. I'm like a dumpling boy. I just go into the mountains for months at a time and eat dumplings because I can't associate with society.
Who's going to make the dumplings, Billy?
I don't know. I'll get some. I'll get them some.
Uber
Eats. As long as I'm close enough in the mountains that Uber Eats will still come to me, I'll be right.
God.
So, how are you scoring City Slickers?
I think I will score this a 7 out of 10.
A 7?
Yeah, I want to give it a bit higher, but there's just a few things that I feel it could improve upon. It's a very strong 7, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I want it to be an 8. I really like this film.
Yeah,
and I like. You know, when you see something once and it affects you because you're at a weird moment in your life that reflects the film, it's having now watched it where I'm in a much better place, like, you know, like the cowboy says, you have to find your thing, and that's, you know, your thing. I have my thing these days, and I still enjoyed the film. It didn't like change me like it did the first time. Yeah. But I can't give it like a perfect 10 out of 10 score either.
Yeah, no, I'm an 8. And I've struggled a lot in my life between an 8 and a 9 for this film because, as I said, I've loved this since I was a kid. And every time I watch it, I do get something new out of it. Like as I'm now 35. I'm not that far away from Billy Crystal's age in this film. And I think about myself at 40 and I relate so...
and weep.
I relate so strongly to... the struggles that he feels. You know, it's a really interesting thing. And I don't know if this is just a male thing or not. It's probably not. But he's not dissatisfied with his life. No. You know, like he loves his wife. He loves his kids. We didn't even talk about Jake Gyllenhaal.
I know, cutie little Jake.
But, you know, it's like one small dissatisfaction and it's almost enough to throw him off entirely. Yeah. And I really, really strongly... relate to that. And I think that that's what this film is about. It's about learning to grow past that and look for what it is that you do enjoy in life and
because he doesn't come back and be like, oh, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do this. He comes back and he's like,
I'm going to do it better.
I'm going to do it well.
That's exactly what he says. He says, I'm not going to quit my job. I'm just going to do it better. I'm going to do everything better. And I'm like, oh, fuck. It hits me so hard in that final moment when he says that.
Yeah.
Like,
there's lots of deep moments.
I do think that the film maybe drags a little in the back half. I actually don't need the turn about him rescuing the cows at the end.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what it's doing, but I just think that ending in the message of this
especially
film
the
and
extra,
how it gets there
are they going to go down a waterfall bit? Like, we know they're not. Like, yeah. But I don't know.
Yeah, I love this film. I really, really love it.
I think I would probably be, a 9, even perhaps a 10, if there was like a female equivalent of this film.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I mean, they could have just done the same thing, but with females.
Do you think this film would work, though? Do you think it would be the same film? Okay, let me ask you this, because this is something I've never really thought about. That feeling I was just describing about like not being dissatisfied with life, but still feeling this dissatisfaction, is that true to females as well, do you think? Like, does that ring true?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
They're just people. Like, of course. There would be different, of course, like, and it feels like sexist to say, but it's like, it's just the reality of the situation because it's the world we live in. There would be different conversations, instead of, like, talking about the DVR.
Yeah.
It would be women talking about like the mental load of Christmas and how every girlfriend I've met up with since Christmas is like, oh, how exhausting was Christmas? Yep, because you're the one with the list. You're the one who takes care of what everyone's getting and I'm getting a robe.
Mate, I smoked the turkeys.
Yeah, you know what? I actually used that as an example. I was like, it pissed me off. I've had this conversation with Billy so many times, like, here I am coming close to Christmas and I'm like, this is what we're getting the kids. It's even. I've kept track of it. It's all in my head and it's not a shared load. And I was pissed off about that, as I told you. And then the difference was, though, come Christmas Day from 7:30 a.m., you did everything. I decorated the table later on.
I was out there trimming the trees so that they weren't all over the table.
You were cooking so much meat, like to the point where we had an entire turkey left over.
And vegetables. Don't
no. But what I'm saying is from 7:30 in the morning, you took the load of Christmas Day. And I was just like, at that moment I felt it was a little more even and my girlfriends were all like, yeah, that's nice. Didn't feel that way because they also take the mental and physical load of cooking Christmas Day lunch. Yeah. So it would be different conversations like that if there was a woman version. Yeah. But of course, women can feel dissatisfied in life and not be able to pinpoint exactly what it is. Have you met you guys?
Well, thank you for talking about this film with me. This was a heap of fun. I hope you enjoyed it, patrons. I always love
really off topic there.
I always love to do these little bonus episodes. Well, we can go off topic. We can. That's what's fun about it.
They can skip ahead if they want. They can be like, oh, it's a Noosk episode. Nah.
But I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you're all. I never know how to end these episodes because I don't have to do I've got the whole thing burned in my brain that you can get in touch with me. You can get... Yeah. I'm just going to do it. If you want to get in touch with me, you can go to wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter all under the handle @wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, which you already do, you can do that patreon.com/wewatchedathing. I'll catch you next week.
Yeah.